Tim Ferriss, the author of the new hacking guide to the body, the 4-Hour Body. Tim, your book comes with a nice note from Kevin Kelly of Wired Magazine on the cover. Kelly being a noted hacker and ideologist of hacking. Are you saying that we should hack into the body? And what is the relationship between the act or the ideology of hacking and your attitude and theory of the body?
So I think that the term hack is appropriate here. It's used very ubiquitously in the tech world, and I think oftentimes loses its impact because of that. But I think if you look at even a good engineer, so a good engineer or hacker is someone who can build something for $2 from normal components that would take someone else, let's say, $10. And I think that hack doesn't necessarily mean the highest available or most refined technology. It's just a creative solution to a real problem. And in this case, I'm looking for the smallest possible changes that can produce the biggest results. And in some cases, that's as simple as, I'll give you an example, removing milk from your morning coffee. Right? Something that most people would not associate with a major change, a major output. But milk is it's called insulinogenic. It has the same effect on insulin as white bread, let's say. And so I've had some test subjects who lose 6 pounds in their first week just after removing milk from their coffee and replacing it with cream, or even better, cinnamon. So Saigon cinnamon, Ceylon cinnamon, they have very interesting properties as it relates to fat loss. But this doesn't have to be difficult if you actually look at the numbers and challenge some of the science. So a lot of the science has not really been field tested very well. If you look at olive oil as an example, almost all of the research that is referenced based on olive oil being good for you is based on manual laborers in Crete in, I believe it's the 1950s. So does that apply to Japanese people? Well, maybe, maybe not. And I think that with many of the tools that are available now, people can answer that question for themselves. Let's say, does MSM plus vitamin C help me repair my cartilage in a joint? Let's say tennis elbow. Can I fix my tennis elbow? There are very, very easy ways to do that now. And I'm encouraging people within safe boundaries to explore discovering what works for themselves. And it doesn't have to take a lot of time.
You said you're an investor in Twitter. Twitter, of course, has revolutionized media, continues to revolutionize media. If your hacking Bible comes true, what would be the institutional changes in the medical world? What would you expect to see that we currently don't have?
I think it depends on the timeline, but I would say very quickly, within the next 2 to 3 years, I'm actually involved with a number of startups that are hopefully going to be doing this. You will find very well-informed patients who walk into their doctor's office with data that saves time and saves money in getting diagnoses. And I think that will reduce healthcare costs. As much as large companies and healthcare companies, insurance companies talk about preventative measures, they really don't make them very effective at all. And I think you'll also find people who are able to prevent the doctor's visit in the first place by diagnosing using good tools and collective knowledge. So there's a website called curetogether.com. There's another called Patients Like Me, where you have normal people, civilians, non-medical doctors, doing open source clinical trials. So,
social medicine.
Social medicine. And as much as some people in the peer-reviewed literature world might like to dismiss that, they're following a lot of the same rules. And in fact, they're getting better data because instead of having 15 people in a clinical trial for, let's say, a disease called ALS for 30 days, they're doing it for 6 months with the same dosing, and they have 300 people tracking. So I think that the data we'll get will be much more powerful and much easier to use. And I think certainly that'll be true once people are able to sequence genomes for, let's say, less than $100 in 10 to 20 minutes. I think things will get very interesting very fast.
For someone who's watching this who's thinking of going to medical school, should they rethink their career? Will there still be doctors in the middle part of the 21st century?
I think there will be doctors. That's a very good question. I would say that what's important, if you choose to follow a professional medical path, is that you recognize the limitations of your training and that means that if you are, let's just say, a general practitioner or a cardiologist, it doesn't automatically make you an expert in nutrition. And I've gone through the curriculum for Harvard Medical School, Stanford Medical School. I know exactly the online curriculum, the modules that they use, and it's severely outdated. So what I would suggest is, if you are going to be preparing yourself for a career in medicine, that you look at some of the tools being developed and really become a specialist in trending and preventative intervention. I think that that is where certainly the money is going to be. And if you have the predisposition to look into genetics, because even today, you could look at, let's say, the MTHFR gene and realize I'm not good at metabolizing, or my vitamin B pathways are messed up, and you can change your supplementation, and it can have an extreme effect on your quality of living, and that's something you can do now. So I think those would be the suggestions I would have for someone considering an MD.